What if your teenager is being fed more content about starving than self worth and they think that's normal? Welcome to Skinny Talk, a viral trend that's quietly shaping how millions of teens think about food, their bodies, and their value. Let's start with the basics. What exactly is Skinny Talk? Because this isn't just some obscure corner of TikTok, it's actually a growing movement and it's wrapped in soft pink filters and lo fi background music that's quietly gaining momentum. If you search the hashtag Skinny Talk, what you're going to see is what I eat in a day, videos featuring barely enough food to fuel a toddler, motivation montages showing bones protruding from shoulders, paired with audio like, don't eat, you're doing so well, and glow ups that showcase dramatic weight loss transformation. And they're all praising them, all of the creators in the comment section. So the content looks very aesthetic. It sounds very inspirational, but underneath it's glorifying restriction, obsession, and an unattainable beauty standard, and it's getting millions of views. In 2023 alone, to understand this, you need some statistics because in 2023 alone, TikTok saw a 400% spike in videos promoting diet culture under hashtags like calorie deficit, hashtag what I eat in a day, and yes, hashtag skinny talk. Before we go any further, the following content is intended for informational and commentary purposes only. It does not constitute medical advice and reflects the views and interpretations of the creator. All references to platforms, trends, and behaviors are based on publicly available content and should be approached with critical thinking and care. If you or someone you know is struggling with disordered eating, please seek professional support. These videos aren't just trending, they're algorithmically rewarding. One interaction, one click, one pause enough in front of the video is enough behavior on your part to start feeding a user. And you'd be the user, more and more of the same. And that's where the danger lies because TikTok's algorithm doesn't just show you one video, it builds a world around it. If you pause on one extreme weight loss clip, suddenly your For You page is a rabbit hole of undereating, comparison, and body obsession. So it's not just casual content, it's conditioning. So let me give you an example of what I ran across on one of these videos and how it just sent me down a rabbit hole. The algorithm thought I wanted to look at these, and for the purpose of research, I did in the moment. For example, so the videos will go like this. So, hi guys. So I had half a rice cake and a black coffee for breakfast. Then, after that huge meal, I went and did 2 hours of cardio. And for lunch, I might have just maybe a couple cucumber slices, just maybe. Now, okay. Now, for someone like me or you or an adult, and some adults, it may impact differently. That might be one thing. You might look at that and say, yeah, no, you need a more balanced meal, right? But imagine you're 14. You're already insecure about your changing body. You scroll past one of these videos, and it's usually a younger person doing this. And the app decides that this is your new reality. You've stopped, you've long enough for the app to make that decision. You start thinking maybe eating less then will make you strong, in control, beautiful, like the person you see on the video. You don't even realize that it's actually disordered. So the hashtag what we eat in a day, just for reference, has over 14 billion views. Now, let me say that again if you didn't get it the first time. The hashtag what I eat in a day has over 14 billion views. It's often presented as wellness, but there's no context, no credentials, and no warning sign when it crosses the line into harmful for your mental health and physically. And here's what's really wild: many of these creators aren't even trying to be malicious. They're not. They're just young people caught in the same cycle. praising each other for their willpower, for skipping meals, for finally hitting 110 pounds or losing 10 pounds, 20, 30, 50, whatever the goal is. It's a digital echo chamber where the thinnest bodies get the loudest applause. What makes skinny talk especially dangerous is that it isn't framed like other eating disorders. It's framed like discipline, like beauty, like success. You'll hear the creator saying things like, this isn't, this is just my journey. So don't copy me. But then what's happening is they're posting daily weigh ins, they're editing their bodies to look smaller, and they're calling it glow up culture. They're saying don't copy me, but they're giving you all the details of everything that you'll need to be like them. And teens are watching. They're thinking this is normal, even aspirational. And it's not fringe, it's viral. So it's not something outside here that it would take a long time for someone to find. This is viral, it's trending. And unless we start calling it what it is, toxic diet culture rebranded for Gen Z, we're going to see more and more and more of our young people struggling with their physical health and their mental health in silence. And now that we understand what skinny talk looks like on the surface, let's talk about what's happening beneath it. Because behind every filtered before and after is a young mind that's absorbing messages that can shape their self. It is. Let's not even let's not sugarcoat it. It's shaping their self-worth, their identity, and their mental health, and it will do so for years to come. In psychology, what we call this is social comparison theory. Now, I'm not saying that this doesn't happen to adults, but I'm specifically focusing on this very fragile time in life, teenage years. We call this social comparison theory, and it's the idea that people, especially adolescents, evaluate their own value and success by comparing themselves to others. So, when a teen sees a video of a girl around their age getting thousands of likes for losing weight and all the things they do, their brain doesn't just register, wow, she's thin, or good for her, she needed to lose weight, or whatever. It thinks she's liked, she's admired, she's enough. And in contrast, I'm not. And so, what this does is it leads to a dangerous mental question or a mental equation. Thin equals valuable. Eating, in this case, equals weakness. And when you add this viral nature uh, into the mix, this message will spread like wildfire. Let's talk about then what happens in the brain when this content goes viral. Every like, every comment, every follower will act as a dopamine hit, a chemical reward. So the brain begins to associate restriction, shrinking, and self criticism with validation. And that's very addictive because dopamine in the brain, they do play a role in this. You're not just seeing a number, for example, on a scale drop, you're seeing your self worth rise, at least temporarily. So when you're following all these creators and this trend, this is what's happening. And that's where the cycle begins. You begin to restrict more, you post more, you compare more, you starve more, and then you repeat. And if you think that it's just me sitting here breaking down this headline using my own expertise or having my own opinion, you would be wrong because there are a lot of experts out there that are weighing in. Dr. Jenny Thomas is a clinical psychologist at Harvard, and I think it was said best by this doctor. Apps like TikTok have essentially gamified eating disorders. The more extreme you go, the more engagement you get. So just let that sink in. We've created a system where disordered behaviors are rewarded and recovery is ignored. So, when we're talking about body image and identity formation, here's where it gets even deeper because teens, especially girls, not to leave out our boys because it happens here too, but they're in a critical stage of identity formation. They're figuring out who they are, what they believe, and how they see themselves fitting in the world. But what happens when their entire online ecosystem tells them that their worth is defined by their waistline or what they're seeing on the scale? They stop forming an identity based on values and they start forming one based on appearance. They become the fit girl, the glow up queen, the discipline equals freedom type, and they're praised for it. And then they get that whole dopamine reward and they go through that whole repeat cycle. And, they get praised again until they burn out or they break down. And according to a lot of headlines out there, over 50% of teen girls say social media actually makes them feel worse about their bodies. And yet they keep scrolling. They can't stop scrolling. Why? Because platforms like TikTok are designed to keep them hooked, to reward them for engaging with content that makes them feel inadequate, and to feed them more of the same every time they come back for more. It's not just about one bad video, it's about the cumulative impact, the steady drip of inadequacy, the daily reminder that you're not there yet. So imagine this. You're 15. You've had a rough day at school, just a rough day, and you're a teenager. Those years are rough. You open TikTok to distract yourself, and within seconds, you're seeing girls with flat stomachs showing what they ate, usually air and ambition, telling you if I can do it, you can too. So you internalize it. You skip dinner. You wake up feeling a little more powerful and a whole lot emptier. You think you're making progress. What you're actually doing is disappearing. And the scariest part, this isn't just a phase for some kids. It could be the start of a long, difficult battle with body image, food, and self esteem, one that could take years to unravel. And it's really hard to talk about phases in the age of social media. And, we're here, this is why we have to talk about this, not just as critics, but as humans who care about the next generation's mental health and their physical health. And let me tell you something, even though I gave you a scenario, there are real people going through some real things because of this. So in my research, I ran across a bunch of forums where people, teenagers, were writing about their experiences. And I want to read you a few excerpts that I came across from those forums, support groups, and online communities where teens and even adults are opening up about the real world damage that this trend is causing. So, this was written by a 17-year-old Reddit eating disorder recovery forum user. I started watching what I eat in a day videos because I wanted to be healthier. Now I can't eat without guilt. I feel like if I go over 800 calories, I've failed. That's just one excerpt from a 17-year-old Reddit ED recovery forum user. Here's one from a 19-year-old TikTok creator. And this post was later deleted, interestingly. But the creator said, I lost 30 pounds and I got all the praise online, all the likes, all the comments. But inside, I was miserable, obsessed, isolated. No one knew I was crying myself to sleep every night because I was starving and terrified of gaining anything back. And I have another one that was written by the sister of her younger 13-year-old sister. And they were concerned. And they write, my younger sister, 13, refuses to eat dinner now. She shows my mom these random TikToks and says, see, this is healthy. She only had grapes and tea. And my sister thinks that she's being disciplined. But what's happening is she's being brainwashed. And these aren't isolated stories. What these are alarm bells, and they're getting louder. So I want you to picture something with me for a second. There's a family that's sitting down for dinner, pasta salad and a warm plate. Mom says to her 15-year-old daughter, eat up, sweetheart. And her daughter glowing screen still in her hand says, I already ate. But she didn't. She drank a Diet Coke, maybe she chewed some gum, because earlier she watched her favorite influencer talk about how skipping dinner helps her stay lean for photo shoots. So now this young girl, smart, funny, beautiful young girl, is shrinking herself in silence, and the family doesn't even realize that it's happening right in front of them. That's how insidious this is. It looks like self control, it sounds like wellness, but really it's the beginning of a breakdown on mental health. And let's talk about the fallout because studies are now linking social media exposure, specifically short form diet related content, to increased rates of anxiety, body dysmorphia, depression, and even suicidal ideation in adolescents. So we're not just dealing with low self esteem. According to this statistic, we're dealing with psychological trauma that is beginning with a scroll on the phone, tablet, or wherever. In fact, the American Psychological Association even released a statement that is urging for caution around diet trends on TikTok, stating that they can contribute to disordered eating behaviors in individuals predisposed to perfectionism, anxiety, and low self esteem. And I personally, based on my own expertise, would take that a little bit further and say that it isn't just for teens or people that are exposed, that are predisposed to perfectionism, anxiety, and low self-esteem, because we live in a society of comparison. We're constantly comparing ourselves to others. And when we see these curated, you know, aesthetic lives of people that they're putting on all these social media platforms, we begin to think that we are less than if our lives don't look that curated. And some people might say, well, when you're speaking about this topic, specifically diet culture, what makes this different than past diet culture? Because the truth is, diet culture has always existed. Magazines, TV, fashion. Well, what's different now? Here's the difference. Back then, we consumed it maybe once, twice a day, depending on what our access was, right? Now, teens are carrying it in their pockets 24/7. So there's no off switch, no commercial break, no parent monitoring most of the time. Let's be real. Depending on what your rules are and what culture you come from. But they are constantly absorbing these curated images of thinness, control, and success disguised as casual content. So it's not just the presence of skinny talk, it is the frequency, the intensity, and emotional stickiness that makes it more harmful than ever before. Now, I want to pause here and say something. If you're someone who is struggling with this, if you're listening and thinking, this sounds like me, please know you're not alone. Please know you're not weak. You've just been swimming in an online culture that profits off of our insecurity. And if you're a parent, a friend, a sibling, please know you don't have to be perfect, but awareness is a powerful starting point. Ask questions, be curious, not critical, and create space for honest conversations before the damage of what's going on goes any deeper. And so far, we've peeled back the layers on skinny talk as a trend and the individual damage it can cause. But what if I told you that this isn't just a TikTok problem? What we're witnessing is part of a broader cultural regression, a slide back into toxic ideas that maybe we thought we left behind in the early 2000s. You remember the era, and if you don't, uh, let me remind you: low rise jeans, diet pills, tabloids shaming celebrities for gaining 2 pounds then wasn't just trendy, it was a requirement. And now it's happening again. You've probably seen the headlines. Is thin back in? A Zimbic culture and the shrinking celebrity body? So you have to ask yourself, is thin in again? On red carpets and Instagram grids, we're seeing more celebrities visibly thinner than they were just a year ago. And instead of celebration around body diversity, we're seeing a lot of creators aspiring to the skeletal silhouettes that they once feared. This time, though, the culture is a bit sneakier because it's cloaked in language like wellness, clean eating, discipline, and even some biohacking. Not all, but some. But the subtext is the same: be smaller, be controlled, and be admired. So let's talk about the elephant, or rather the injectable in the room, Ozempic. It has an effect and an impact on what I'm talking about. Originally created for managing type 2 diabetes, this drug is now the not so secret weapon behind many Hollywood transformations. Celebrities, influencers, and even everyday professionals are turning to GLP-1 agonists like Ozempic or Wegovy to shed pounds quickly. And guess what? TikTok is flooded, not just TikTok, a lot of social media platforms are flooded with content showing these journeys, before and afters, dosage guides, side effects, maybe, and progress montages set to trending audio. Well, what's the problem with that? I'm not sitting here and telling you that being overweight is a good thing, being unhealthy is a good thing. So, what's the problem? Well, the problem is these drugs are being glamorized as miracle weight loss tools with very little discussion around the risk. And there are a lot: the accessibility issues or the psychological dependency that they can create. So, this makes me think about something. Remember the body positivity movement when it started gaining steam? It was bold, unapologetic, celebratory. For the first time in decades, there was real momentum around diverse beauty standards. But lately, that movement has been silenced, co opted, and in some cases, completely reversed. Now we have what is called body neutrality. And that might sound nice in theory, but it often functions as a soft retreat from advocating for visibility. So the platforms that once elevated, say, plus size voices or different beauty as compared to what you would normally see, are now deprioritizing them in favor of weight loss glow ups. And this isn't just a social trend, it's a psychological tsunami. When society collectively decides that being thin is not just preferable, but necessary, people begin to panic. They question, well, their worth, their desirability, their place in the world. And it's especially dangerous for teens who are just still trying to figure out who they are. If all the role models that they look up to are shrinking themselves, what message does that send about expansion, about taking up space, about diversity and beauty, being loud, being confident? We say, be yourself, but culture whispers, only if you're under a size two. This cultural backslide isn't just disappointing, it's devastating, because every time we take two steps forward in representation, diet culture comes in, rebrands itself, and lures us back in. And Skinny Talk is just the neon sign leading us there. But let's zoom out and talk about the elephant in the algorithm, TikTok itself. Because yes, skinny talk is a cultural issue. Yes, it reflects deeper insecurities, but it is also a product that is carefully designed and deployed by billion-dollar tech empire that knows exactly what it's doing. So is the algorithm the curator or culprit? Here's how it works. TikTok's For You page is powered by an algorithm that's brilliantly addictive. It doesn't just show you what you want, it shows you what keeps you scrolling. So let's say you're lingering on a skinny talk video. Boom. The next hour of your life is a buffet of low calorie, what I eat in a day's, gym progress montages, and thinspo disguised as clean girl content. TikTok's machine learning is optimizing for engagement, not well being. This means it prioritizes polarizing, provocative, or aesthetic content over healthy, nuanced, or qualified conversations It doesn't care if the video triggers an eating disorder. It cares that you watched it for more than 3 seconds. And of course, this worked in my benefit when I was doing research on it, but not so much when you're looking through there, especially as a teenager. Now, that said, can TikTok control this? Well, TikTok is saying that it's trying. They put out statements claiming they remove harmful content, promote positive body image, and redirect users who are searching eating disorder related terms to support resources. But let's be honest, the system is broken. Harmful content isn't just slipping through the cracks, it's trending. There are entire accounts built around eating disorders, extreme calorie restriction, or weight loss competitions that stay up for months. Meanwhile, what I noticed and through my research, you have these body positive creators, especially plus size creators. I mean, it's just the research I ran across are often getting removed, demonetized, or just not promoted. And they're claiming they're being shadow banned. Now, the playing field isn't just uneven in that case, it's actively rigged. There are some global regulatory pressures that are happening, though. And it's not just an American concern, by the way. In Europe, TikTok is under investigation by the EU for how its algorithm may be amplifying eating disorder content to minors. So, the UK's online safety bill now requires platforms to minimize content that could cause physical or psychological harm to children, and this would include body image triggers. And in the United States, lawmakers are calling for similar action, and there are a lot of other countries doing different things. But here's the tension: how do you regulate something that's invisible, customized, and constantly evolving? Even when TikTok removes harmful hashtags, the content finds new ways to surface. So creators get creative. They just swap a few letters, use emojis, or code words like almond mom or air for dinner. Now, the algorithm will still pick that up, but it's not blocking it, and the cycle continues. So, who's responsible? The platform, the creators, the viewers? The truth is, it's shared. But we would say that the platform probably holds the lion's share of the power. They've built the system, they control the reach, they profit from the problem. And until they treat user safety, especially teen mental health, as seriously as they treat monetization, they nothing's going to change. Not really, because here's the truth. When a 13-year-old girl is learning more about calorie deficits than confidence, when glow up means starving, when algorithms reward silence over substance, we have a crisis and we need more than PR statements to fix it. So, what do we do? What do we do now? Do we delete the apps? Do we ban our kids from scrolling? Here's a harsh truth: this isn't just a TikTok problem. It's not just about one hashtag, it's about the entire ecosystem of social media. The platform that reward performance over authenticity, aesthetic over health, engagement over empathy. Yes, TikTok is where skinny talk is booming, but let's be honest, this same toxic messaging is on Instagram, it's in Pinterest boards, it's on YouTube shorts, it's even in private Discord chats. So no, we don't need to fear these platforms because it's not about fear, it's about awareness. But we do need to understand how they work, how they shape our self image, and how we can take back some of that control. Because every time we interact with content, we're telling the algorithm more of this, please. So that means the best way to fight the rise of skinny talk in this instance isn't by going quiet. What you would want to do is engage with content that uplifts, educates, and humanizes us. Platforms have a responsibility to protect users, period, especially when the majority of their audience is under 25. So the responsibility is collective and personal, But we also have power as users, parents, creators, and community members. You want to know if you have the question, I'll answer it for you. You want to know what pushes toxic content into the spotlight? Clicks, comments, curiosity. You want to know what buries it? Refusing to engage, promoting alternatives, and talking openly. The algorithm isn't magic, it's math. What we feed grows. So, what are some practical steps then that we can do? So, for viewers, you can curate your feed. Use the not interested options, and they do come up. They'll ask you sometimes, are you interested in that? And just say no. Block or mute toxic accounts. Follow creators who promote balanced, honest, health positive content, and ask yourself before you watch something, is this making me feel smaller or stronger? For parents or guardians, please don't shame your teens for what they watch. Just ask them why they're watching it. Ask them what about it is keeping their attention. And teach media literacy early. Teach them how to spot filtered fakes, how the algorithm manipulates the feeds, and how to question what looks normal. And just keep your communication open, especially around self image and identity. For creators, lead with transparency, show balance, not extreme. So you want to show the balance between the two. Don't glamorize disordered habits as wellness. Use your platform to share truth, not just transformation. We don't need to be afraid of social media, but we do need to stop pretending that it's harmless. It's not going anywhere. So we just need to learn how to use it in a better way. If we want a better digital culture, we have to build it, not just by calling out the bad, but by amplifying the good, by being conscious of what we post and what we praise, and by reminding ourselves and each other, your body's not a trend, your worth is not a filter, and your health is not a hashtag. So this isn't about panicking, it's about power. And we all have more of that than we think. We took a look at a trending topic today, skinny talk, and we're looking beyond the surface of it, beyond the likes, beyond the pastel filters, beyond the what I eat in a day edits, because that's what we do here on this podcast. Speaking of this, we take those headlines and we look past the layers because we want to see what's really going on underneath and how it's impacting and affecting our minds, our culture, and our lives. So this wasn't just an episode about TikTok. I want to make that clear. It was about how all of us, whether we're creators, consumers, or just trying to raise emotional, healthy kids, are living in a digital world that's constantly telling us to be less loud, less visible, less hungry, less big, etc. And yet, what we need most right now is to be more informed, more aware, more kind to ourselves and to each other. So, I have a challenge for you. Here's your challenge for the week. It's nothing radical, just intentional. Pay attention to what shows up in your feed. What are you being fed? What are you feeding back into the system? And how does it make you feel? If this episode made you pause, made you think, or gave you language for something you felt but couldn't quite name, please share it. Please comment. Please like. Share it with a friend. Share it with someone who's scrolling just a little too much lately. And if you're new here, stick around because we do this every week. We take these headlines and we ask what's the deeper story. And until next time, take care of your mind, body, and soul.